Greetings and salutations. This is Jason Miko bringing to you an audio version, the spoken word, of my weekly column on all things Macedonian. The English version is published on medium.com. The Macedonian version is published on svest.mk, that's svest.mk. And for the first time, I am recording the column and posting it on YouTube. This week's column was published on Sunday, November 4, 2018. It is titled, On Amendments, Ignoring Your Own Agreement and Changing Your Own History. The government of the Republic of Macedonia has now introduced its 4 amendments to the Constitution of the Republic of Macedonia as required by the Greeks and the Prespa Agreement. You can read them in Macedonian here. Actually, you can since you're listening, but I will try and put on links on the YouTube page, and certainly those are available on the published article, which is on various social media sites. Continuing, it's worth noting, and it's terribly ironic, that in the explanatory notes, the government takes great pains to stress quote-unquote Macedonia, when a few paragraphs above it is proposing an amendment to change the name to, quote, North Macedonia, unquote. That shouts a lack of confidence in the entire deal, the process, and in the future, at least to me. It's also worth noting that the Prime Minister claims that the proposed amendments to the amendments from the 8 renegade Vomero Dopamine parliamentarians who gave Citizen and Dewey allies the green light to move forward with this entire debacle are incorporated into this. Someone should ask them if this is so. I suspect not. I'm now taking bets that these amendments cause further problems and issues with A, the Greeks, B, the ethnic Albanian minority parties in Macedonia, C, the breakaway MPs who voted in favor of the agreement, and D, those who do not want to change the name, identity, constitution, etc. of Macedonia. Speaking of amendments, the agreement, and the process, it seems that both the governments of Macedonia and Greece feel free to violate the Prespa Agreement even before it is fulfilled. Prime Minister Zaev has said that the entire process of changing the constitution should be completed by mid-January. But the agreement states in Article 1, Paragraph 4, Subparagraph E, that Macedonia shall, quote, conclude in toto the constitutional amendments by the end of 2018, unquote. I guess the whole thing is more of a set of guidelines than an actual legal agreement. Then there's this little underreported item. Quote, the Joint Interdisciplinary Committee of Experts on Historic, Archaeological, and Educational Matters, unquote, envisioned in the Prespa Agreement and made up of members from both countries' foreign affairs ministries, has begun working according to the Macedonian Information Agency. What does this mean? If you go back and read the 19-page agreement, so few do anymore, it's worth reading Article 8, Paragraph 5, which addresses this. As a public service to my readers, I've rekeyed Article 8, Paragraph 5 here, well, on the written column, which you can find on social media sites, with my notes in parenthesis and highlights in the original text in bold. I am now going to read Article 8, Paragraph 5 with my notes as well. Quote, within 1 month of the signing of this agreement, and here's my comment, that would have been July 17, 2018, the parties shall establish by exchange of diplomatic notes on a parity basis a joint interdisciplinary committee of experts on historic, archaeological, and educational matters to consider the objective, scientific interpretation of historical events based on authentic, evidence-based, and scientifically sound historical sources and archaeological findings. Here's my note, meaning both elected politicians and unelected appointed bureaucrats will be making these decisions. Continuing with Article 8, Paragraph 5, quote, the committee's work shall be supervised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the parties in cooperation with other competent national authorities. And again, my note is that this will be elected politicians and unelected appointed bureaucrats. Continuing, quote, it shall consider and, if it deems appropriate, revise any school books and school auxiliary material, such as maps, historical atlases, teaching guides, in use in each of the parties in accordance with the principles and aims of UNESCO and the Council of Europe. To that effect, the committee shall set specific timetables as to ensure in each of the parties that no school textbooks or school auxiliary material in use the year after the signing of this agreement which by my notes would be June of 2019, contains any irredentist/revisionist references. Again, my notes. Who decides this? Well, Greece, of course. The committee shall also study any new editions of school textbooks and school auxiliary material as provided for under this article. Now, that's a lot more than what I have just told you and what I'm rekeying in the article. And Article 8 covers such things as national symbols, monuments, public buildings, infrastructure flags, etc. Back on Article 8, Paragraph 5, quote, "The committee shall convene regularly, at least twice a year, and shall submit an annual report on its activities and recommendations to be approved by the high-level cooperative council as to be established pursuant to Article 12. Now, that's the end of Article 8, subparagraph 5. Article 12, however, goes on to name this, quote, high-level cooperative council, unquote. It will be, wait for it, the prime minister of each country. So, just wait until new democracy is in charge in Greece, which will be in 2019. Well now, parents, teachers, grandparents, and anyone else concerned about the education of Macedonia's children, be prepared to see the textbooks, school books, maps, atlases, and teaching guides which your children now use changed dramatically. And if any Macedonian within the Foreign Ministry, Ministry of Education, or just concerned parents and teachers raise their voice in opposition to this, what do you think will happen? Well, Greece will simply say, as they have said so often and with brute force in the past, as well as their collaborators in the international community, well, we're in the club and you're not. So, if you want to be in NATO, in the EU, despite having, at this point, already debased yourself, changed your constitution, and engaged in self-flagellation, you will do as you are told, and you will like it. Now, again, for those who are interested and willing to take the time, you can read the entire 19-page agreement in English. That is in the column, and hopefully I'll be able to link up to that on this social media site as well. And I've also got a number of other columns in which I criticize various aspects of the agreement, which I'll also post as well. Now, do you think this is a simple agreement about a name change? Think again. It is infinitely more, and if carried out to the full extent of the visions of its authors and signers, has the potential to eventually wipe out the Macedonian people. Unless we take a stand against it. The good news? There are ways to thwart this both now and in the future. I've mentioned some of those in the past and will continue writing about those in the future because Macedonia is worth it. That's all for this column. I leave you with two thoughts. Number one, as Charles Dickens wrote, there are more good things in life than you can possibly imagine. And the right attitude is gratitude. Thanks so much.